beat him. I already beat him at the press conference today. He's already a losing man.
Well, I don't like things like that. I mean, it's ridiculous, and you see these scuffles and all this nonsense at press conferences, and that is where it goes wrong. There's a little cut. I don't know how bad it is. I've not had a chance to speak to any.
The scene detonates the moment the press conference spirals out of control, when a calm exchange flips into chaos, and the cameras capture a heavyweight icon snapping in real time as taunts about recent losses slice deeper than expected. Confidence cracks show, security rushes in, and the entire boxing world realizes this is no longer scripted hype, but raw emotion spilling over with dangerous intent. The confrontation escalates fast as intimidation replaces dialogue, with one fighter seizing the room through volume, posture, and aggression, attempting to dominate not just the opponent but the narrative itself, turning a promotional stage into psychological warfare, where every insult is a power play and every step forward is meant to break, resolve before a punch is ever thrown.
Little foreign prick. I've got no interest in him at all. Gypsy King's back.
The response is immediate and defiant, as the younger challenger refuses to shrink, openly admitting restraint only enforced by security, signaling that the hostility is personal and real, not manufactured, and that the line between showmanship and violence has already been crossed, transforming curiosity into obsession for everyone watching.
She reached for the mic and I was ready to lash out around his head, but he got lucky that time because, yeah, I reached for the wrong.
Veteran voices jump in to pull the moment back from the brink, reminding both fighters that this chaos is not a street fight, but a business built on timing and control, where the real damage and real money are made under lights and gloves, not behind tables and microphones surrounded by stunned journalists.
They've had a push and a shove.
Well, this is not a gang fight. You know, the only two have been fighting are the boxers, and save it for the night. They don't get paid. They don't get paid to fight before the fight.
Analysts react with concern and fascination, pointing out that humiliation, repeated jabs at legacy, and unresolved defeats can erode even the strongest mental armor. And when pride finally combusts, the explosion looks exactly like this, a public unraveling that exposes how thin the line is between dominance and vulnerability.
Everything that, because that's a little bit naughty, because I know it's all, you know, fun and games at press conferences, but when you lay your hands on another man's face, whether there's an egg in it or not, you've laid your hands on his face, and that takes it to another.
Promotional heavyweights weigh the moment carefully, framing the outburst not as randomness, but as inevitability, arguing that relentless provocation, personal insults, and challenges to greatness force reactions. And in this sport, reactions are currency, fueling spectacle, selling fights, and keeping the machine alive.
Pushes your buttons, when someone shoves you like that, when someone starts talking about your mum, no man, like, look, I'm a complete pussy, right? If you start talking about my mum and all this other stuff, I'm going to have a pop at you. I can't fight it, but I don't care, I'll have a right go. And you're talking about the world heavyweight champion. If you start talking to him like that, if you shove him like that, he's going to...
Commentators with long memories shrug at the chaos, noting that boxing history is littered with moments where tempers boiled over, lines were crossed, and order collapsed, insisting this is not shocking but familiar. Another chapter in a sport where volatility is baked into its DNA.
An egg in his face. I mean, how many times have we seen boxers do things that they shouldn't do? You know, we saw Derek Chisora spit on Vitaly Klitschko.
We didn't need that.
I'm not offended by it.
The discussion pivots toward mindset, breaking down how confidence at the elite level is calculated rather than blind, rooted in trust of durability, timing, and distance control, where acknowledging danger does not equal fear, and psychological pressure becomes a weapon wielded as sharply as any punch.
Twice as big for the casual fans. Do we condone it? I mean, in boxing terms, should that happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just made it even bigger. And we wait to see what happens next.
The challenger fires back with equal intensity, boasting of guaranteed knockdowns and ruthless follow-ups, presenting himself as a finisher who turns openings into endings, framing every past opponent as proof and positioning himself not as a test, but as a threat designed to end eras.
Don't get concerned over a man's ability, because that's his God-given talent. He's strong and he can punch hard and knock men out. That's what he does. But all of these guys can punch hard. All heavyweights. If you let a heavyweight hit you in the face, knockout. Sure. So it's up to me not to let that happen. You know, if he lands a punch on me, great. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. But my chin is not like a piece of paper like you.
The heavyweight landscape is dissected by insiders who argue that opportunity must be earned, not gifted, and that hungry contenders colliding with established stars can upend divisions overnight, especially when youth, power, and momentum meet experience under the brightest lights.
I was delayed in the process of getting people out, but you can see from my career, as soon as I have you hurt, you're getting out of there. Every opponent I've ever faced has hit the canvas. I can bang and I can follow up and I can get you out of there. Those things are guarantees.
Skeptics inject cold realism, questioning whether popularity and theatrics outweigh substance, stressing that greatness is measured by consistent elite wins rather than isolated spectacles, and that beating one dangerous contender alone does not automatically rewrite a legacy carved over decades.
The way I look at it, these other boys, Fabio Wardley, Ajit Kabiel, they've earned the right to fight Usyk next. They really have. You know, and there's only 3 heavyweights out there. There's 4. Usyk, Tyson, Wardley, Ajit Kabiel, who's on this weekend. It's between those 4 heavyweights. But I think either Ajit Kabiel or Wardley deserves a shot at Usyk next. You know, and I'm just saying it because I think that's the way it is. You know, and we've got plenty of time. You know, but I just think, you know, if he meets these young guns.
The warning escalates as knockout promises become explicit, with the younger fighter claiming he can replicate past damage inflicted by others, expressing absolute belief in his ability to penetrate defenses and end the fight decisively, shifting the narrative from possibility to expectation.
You know, obviously Fury's got his own fans and people that think that he is a legend and one thing and another. Well, that's all well and good. But you've got to look at his resume. It doesn't stack up. Not to the great fighters. It doesn't stack up. So, you know, he is where he is. Like I say, if he beat Fabio Wardley, that doesn't make him great. That doesn't make him great. You know.
Those who have shared the ring add credibility, describing punches that feel like blunt force trauma and a mentality that refuses to break, emphasizing that power alone is not the danger, but the combination of grit, pressure, and relentless forward motion that wears opponents down.
How many times, and I'm a bit younger, a bit fresher, got a few more tricks in my pocket, so if I can do it, I can do it. I can get Fury out of there.
Do you see that? If that's a fight that happens, you see yourself knocking him out?
Yeah, 100%. I see myself getting him out. I can actually see it as well, because I know I can get to.
Praise from fellow heavyweights borders on reverence, with comparisons to all-time greats, highlighting movement, timing, and aura, and warning that attempting to outbox such a fighter is a mistake, as underestimation becomes the fastest route to disaster in this division.
So you've been in with Fabio Wardley on a couple of occasions. What are his biggest qualities?
Well, you don't need me to tell you nothing more than he can punch very hard. You know, you only have to ask my face. Yeah, he can really bang, and he's gritty. He's tough and he's gritty. You know, that's definitely his strength.
The stakes are laid bare as the matchup is framed as a career-defining gamble for one, and a lucrative, legacy-shaping crossroads for the other, blending ego, risk, and reward into a volatile mix that guarantees attention, debate, and an inevitable explosion when the bell finally rings.
Everybody gets it wrong. You don't box this guy. It's like, I cannot explain it to you in a way you understand. You can't box him.
He's just too good.
He's just unbelievable great. Yeah, forget good, he's amazing. Yeah, he's great, he's amazing. He's like the white Muhammad Ali. He might not talk like Muhammad Ali, but he is the Muhammad Ali of the last generation. You understand? We have to give him the credit where he's due. Yeah? He is that guy.
Tyson Fury fight. I would love to see the Fabio Wardley fight. I think that's a great fight. I think that's a big fight as well. Fabio Wardley would love to get that call. Tyson Fury, I mean, that's jackpot financially. He would love that call. For Fury, it's a chance of becoming a world champion again, which obviously isn't Fury's drive, but I mean, it's a chance to become world champion.
Very good at, like, you look at the first Usyk fight. The first couple of rounds that Usyk was clearly winning out, landing Tyson Fury. You saw many people saying, "Oh, Fury won like round one," where he didn't land anything, and he got hit a couple of times because of the showboat. And he didn't do as much of that in the rematch, interestingly enough, with Alexander Usyk. But he is very smart in there, Tyson Fury. And I keep saying we need to really see what he looks like in his comeback fight before we can make any assessment or any judgments. If he's, say, 10% less of what he was in both Usyk fights, I still think that's enough to beat Fabio Wardley. I do. I'm not saying he wouldn't have his, hardships in that fight, certainly.